I'm often asked about, or people express their frustrations with meditation. Now, you must understand that these frustrations are created by the mind, because the mind is a sulky little brat. Oh, I can't do this. Why can't I do this? How can he do it but I can't? That's the mind. And you're trying to shut it up, but you've been listening to it for so long that it doesn't have an off switch. Now, you made it. It's your mind. You created it. And you let it build a wall. So how do you take the wall down? How do you... You don't want to uncreate it. You want to free it. So how do you free it? Well, you take the wall down, brick for brick, piece for piece. Now, the mind is not consciousness. Never was, never will be. It is nothing more than your own self-built propaganda machine. It is nothing more than artificial intelligence, because it runs on the back of consciousness. And the mind that doesn't realize this thinks it does everything. It thinks that it controls everything. It thinks that it's in charge, but it's not. And it's this blindness that will catch people. Here's a little mental exercise for your mind. Ment meaning mind. What should I pick? Close your eyes and imagine a banana. Now, you all know what a banana is. It's a yellow object. It's usually curved. Now imagine peeling the banana and exposing the fruit within. And you're all doing that perfectly well. Now, there are people that can't imagine those things. I think they're called aphantasias or something like that. But they still function okay. They don't have a voice in their head. Now, but the mind's eye, the pineal gland, allows you to imagine. I magic in. Now, if that part of your consciousness was turned off, you wouldn't be able to imagine anything. You would have no imagination. If you have no imagination, you have no creativity. What would you do? You wouldn't know how to make a cup of tea. You wouldn't know what a cup is, because if you can't imagine a cup, you won't recognize one if it was bouncing off your head. This is what Jesus means when he says, "Get away from me, I do not know you." You are no longer able, the mind is no longer able to access consciousness. It is cut off from that energy. Now, consciousness is light, and it is energy. And if something is cut off from energy, what is the terminal result of that? If you was to unplug a lamp, death, decay, rot. There is a power shift going on. All of mankind's institutions, all of its affairs, all of its organizations it's politics, it's religion. It's all being torn down. It's all falling apart. And the blind guides and the blind are trying to patch it up. There's leaks all over the place. It's falling apart. The entire system is falling apart. Now, people will lose their minds over this because their comfort zone is being ripped away from them. Everything they believed in, all the dogma, all the shite, it's being exposed as shite. Something that is corrupt cannot exist in a new paradigm. Only what truly is can exist. Illusions will be exposed as that, simply illusions. And the biggest illusion that you have to deal with is the illusion of the mind. It's nothing more than a story that you tell yourself. When you go to the movies or you watch a film, Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise and his daring do, it's a film. It's not real. Although the effects and the sounds and the sight, it might convince you for the duration of the film that it is real. That's what the producer, the director, is trying to do. He's luring you into his illusionary world so that you can enjoy the show. But that old show is then over, and then you come back to the real world. Now let's use that analogy, but from yourself within. You've been telling yourself this story for so long, but that story's falling apart, and your mind recognizes it's falling apart, so it clings even more to the dogmas, trying to protect it. That's what religious fundamentalism is. Look at the Hebrew roots movement, dressing up in ancient Hebrew clothes, allegedly, and reading from the Bible and calling everybody sinners and things. They're trying to revive a dogma, an illusion, and they will fall on their faces. It's a foolishness. It's an act, playing religious dress up on the weekend and harassing people outside supermarkets and shopping malls, and then going back to their normal jobs during the week. It's just a fucking show, all driven by the ego. It's just a stupid script. You created it. You are the producer. You are the director. But where is the real reality? Well, it's inside you. So you've got to put the actor away to tap into the real act, the real truth, the way things are, the way they really are. That's what this COVID's all about. COVID, divine presence. Corona, the crown. Socially isolate. In other words, get away from all the shite. Okay, lock down, stay indoors, go within. Can't you see? It's so simple. But they're doing this not because they know anything. They're doing it because it's a ritual. But the people with eyes to see and ears to hear will respond. You will not be able to see. You will be blind until you meditate. Medi means middle. When you're in the middle, it's like being, the ego is out of the way, and there is pure potential, the abyss, the blackness, the void. That's what it's like initially. And it opens up to you. And you're in the middle, between the void, the potential, the abyss, and the ego. And then you're in the middle. That is meditation. Now you do this naturally, but it's not a doing. It's simply being. Right, I'll share with you what I do. I have a ringing in my ears. I used to think it was tinnitus. I used to do a lot of shooting, high velocity rifles and things like that, and I thought it was a result of that, but it isn't. I call it the song of the ancients. My left ear has one particular pitch and my right ear has a lesser pitch. And when I meditate, when I go into my center, the middle, it's not, I basically become aware of the pitches, the tones in my ears. And then they kind of match. The two different tones match and they make a different tone. And then I know that my brain is moving into a different brainwave, a different pattern. At the same time, I'm seeing shapes, swirling shapes. I've seen things like microtubules. I've seen parts of my anatomy. I've seen flashes. I've seen what looks like lightning. More recently, I've seen an eye. The eye of Ra, the eye of Horus, call it whatever you want. I've seen an eye. I've seen a beautiful female face, and she's been decorated beautifully. So these are the things that I am seeing within me when the mind's out the way. With regard, the eye is protection, and the beautiful face is the mother. Now, these things are revealed to you as individuals. Now, all these, it's different cultures. So it's what the ego intellect has learned in its life is what higher consciousness will present to you so that you can understand. Now, each individual is different. You have a different mental background. You have a different story, a different culture. So, but those things are only revealed in meditation. So you have to go into meditation. And when the mind's getting frustrated, I can't do it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Love yourself. That's what meditation is, actually. It's prayer. It's loving yourself. It is the greatest respect for your higher self, your mind, your mother, your father. It is the individual worship of consciousness. You know, I'm not talking about getting on your knees or bowing down or any of that nonsense. It's the act of being submissive or bowing down is to put the ego to the side. That's what it is. So when the ego's getting frustrated about it, then you're making progress because the ego is putting up a fight. Now, before you started meditation, the ego didn't put up any resistance. It was, oh, that's just me. You thought it was you. It's not. But now that the ego is in danger of being caught, it's in danger of being discovered as the liar. And now it's going to pull out all the stops to try and stop you from being in the center. This is why Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." He was talking to the ego, Satan, low consciousness. Get behind me, Satan. When you have that realization that you're not the ego, then you'll understand that the ego is a servant and it's not the master anymore. And the servant follows. It doesn't lead. Get behind me, Satan. And then your ego becomes a follower. Remember Jesus said, "Follow me." Jesus is you. So stop pretending to be the Apostle Paul. Stop pretending to be low consciousness. Take your mask off. Now you're starting to understand what's going on. It's right there in front of everyone's faces, but they can't see it because they're blind to it, because they're not in their center. They're not able to receive higher because their mind gets in the way. It makes them blind. But the real blindness comes when the judgment comes. That the Father doesn't judge. It's Jesus that judges your own higher consciousness. And if you don't know him, he doesn't know you. How can you be guided by your higher consciousness if you don't have a relationship with it? How can you be enlightened? How can you be guided? How can you be assisted and helped? How can you be lifted up if you don't know? Initially, in meditation, you'll know nothing. No thing. Non-physical. Then things start to reveal themselves to you. First of all, the ego will start to break down. As it's breaking down, it will fight to maintain the Tower of Babel, the confusion that it's built for himself. Keep meditating. Tear it down. Once it's down, you will know who you truly are. And then what's in will go out. Meditation. You will be able to affect people's lives. They won't like it. Remember? Jesus? He came teaching a very profound message. And he got a really shit ride for that. You're not going to be nailed to crosses or any of that. Don't worry about any of that. There will come a point in your meditation where, or in your new life, your new realized self, that you will know who you are exactly. And fear is something that you'll laugh at because it was all imagined by the mind. And then fear. Well, things can still scare you. If you have a close shave of a car accident, you get the old adrenaline release, you're going to be scared. That's a natural thing. But anxiety, fear, worry, despair, all that shit runs away from you because that's all darkness, and you become light and you light it up. Now, when you turn a light on in a dark room, the darkness doesn't retreat. It fucking vanishes. It's gone. Okay? The mind will play tricks on you. The mind will try to sneak back in with fear. But you've got to watch. And you're watching the mind. And when you're in meditation and the mind's trying to do what it's doing, trying to get you out of the meditation with thoughts, don't take a thought, because if you take it, you're owning it. Like Jesus said, take no thought. Now, the monkey mind will be doing loads of this. You just need to do loads of this. You watch, you don't take. And in the end, the mind will just get, I give up. Get it? And then you'll recognize, well, if I'm watching the mind, who's the mind and who's the watcher? The watcher is you, higher consciousness. Consciousness. The ego is not conscious. It's just a program. Turn it off. Change the fucking channel. That's what meditation is as well. You're changing the channel. You're putting the ego out the way. The set is empty. It can receive something else. It's that simple. I spoke to Nikki the other night and I said, Nikki, I was meditating, darling, and I saw an eye. And she said, yeah, I've seen that as well. I So my analytical mind, why didn't you mention it? Oh, I didn't think it was worthy of mentioning. So how can you be so nonchalant? Oh, it is what it is. And it's just her energy complements mine because I have a very analytical mind. And I like to chew the cud. Now, Nikki chews the cud, but in a very different way. And she used the word nonchalant. So, when the character Jesus said, I would rather you was hot, that's passionate. That would be my mind. Or cold. So, Nikki is dispassionate, just accepts it. But if you're lukewarm, I will spew you out. But don't be lukewarm about this stuff. There's a saying, the builders that rejected the chief cornerstone. Now, the chief cornerstone is consciousness, and the builder is you. You built the ego. You. So you need to unbuild it. You need to tear it down to put it in its rightful place. That's behind you. You lead the ego. It doesn't lead you. If it leads you, if the ego is in charge of you, then you have rejected the chief cornerstone. You have rejected consciousness. And in turn, consciousness will reject you. Simple. Meditation is, consciousness is the chief cornerstone. If there's no consciousness, there is no life, there's no physical reality. That's a fact. Consciousness creates the physical reality. The physical reality is there so consciousness can experience the gift of life. If you are not known, you are dead, not protected. I'm not talking to the dead people. I'm talking to the people in the wilderness. How would I put this biblically? I am making a case for the orphans, because I'm telling you, you're not an orphan. You have a beautiful mother and a fantastic father, symbolically speaking. But it's no good just hearing it from me. You need to see it within. And that's where you have to take responsibility. And your ego, the whining little twat that it is going to bitch and moan. Don't be fooled by it. You need to overcome it. And you overcome it in meditation. That is the only way. I stress this. If I'm explaining some of the biblical allegory, and then you have knowledge, whoopee fucking do. It's worthless. It is worthless until you have the experience. You might have knowledge, but you'll still be blind. A blind man is, a blind intellect is no good to man the beast. And if you want evidence of that, just look at the fucking shite reality that this perpetual blindness has created. That shit's gotta go. There's a boat coming. You're either on it or off it. The choice is yours. It's that simple. Pick. Meditate, people. and all will be revealed to you. Seriously. You'll never be fooled again. It's written in the book that Jesus says, and many will come in my name, but you won't be fooled. So many permanent, the religious people think, oh, he thinks he's Jesus, and ignore that. Just get away from religion. Religion will defile your mind. It's like you are basically raping your own intellect and you are sodomizing your subconscious. Get away from religion. Now, when Jesus said, many will come in my name, that's absolutely true, because many have self-realized. Many are going within and they're waking up and they're like, wow, everybody is Jesus pretending to be the Apostle Paul. But you will not be fooled, because you won't follow them. You will go within yourself and realize yourself that you are indeed the physical manifestation of higher consciousness, symbolically represented as Jesus. And the Apostle Paul is your lowly and little ego. And the two become one. One's a servant, one's a master. And the master, your own higher consciousness, guides the servant, your ego. So don't be fooled. Go within. Meditate. It's difficult because a lot of shit's going to come up. It has to. You are unblocking the system. You are clearing it out. You've been putting a lot of shit in there. Now there's time to get it out. Both the physiology and the psychology. There's going to be a lot of emotional stuff going on. Let it pass through you. Let it do its work. Don't get in the way. Like that song by Kurt Cobain, Nirvana. There's something in the way. Usually the mind. The next time you're feeling pretty shitty, ask yourself this: what is actually happening to you? And invariably the answer is nothing. So why do I feel so shit? And then look at the story that the mind is telling you. And then you'll recognize that the mind is running the house. It's making the house. What the mind thinks, the body will respond to. So if the mind says, I feel sad, I feel miserable, then the body will move into that mode. And there's nothing wrong with feeling sad. There's plenty of things to be sad and miserable about. But don't dwell in those places. Recognize the thought. You feel the emotion. Let the emotion pass, and then stop it and go back to being in a restful state. Don't dwell in the shite that your mind generates. Same thing about being happy. The mind can make you happy, but happiness is like the seasons. It comes and goes like the rising and setting of the sun. Now, between happiness and misery, there's this really quiet place in the middle, and that's bliss. And bliss is not, it's not an emotion. Bliss is a stillness. And that's where it's at. And you can experience the emotions. You can be pissed off, angry, upset, happy, elated. And then you can play in those little things and dabble with it, you know. But then you can decide, right, okay, that's enough. And then you can withdraw from that and go into a blissful state. And you can come in and out of that. And you find that blissful state in meditation as well. And then what's in goes out. So you can play with emotions. It's a dance. Yeah, it adds to the experience of life, but don't dwell in it. Don't dwell in happiness. Don't dwell in anger. Have the experience, then move on to the next thing. But go within, and I promise you, you will start to see things. You will start to understand things. Wisdom will suddenly appear as the temple is being built. You certainly don't need me. You need your higher self. Go within, you'll find it.